The JuOn franchise is arguably the most successful and impactful Japanese horror franchise of all time. Its origins go further back than most realize, and its legacy is more impactful than many fans appreciate. This is the story of how two short films that were a part of a Japanese horror anthology TV movie from the 90s became the face of Japanese horror. This is episode 1 of my new series, JuOn, a franchise retrospective, so settle in because we're about to go back to the beginning. Let's explore JuOn the Curse. Takashi Shimizu, the creator of the JuOn franchise, was given his big break into the industry thanks to some impressive short student films he worked on that caught the eye of his professor, Kiyoshi Kurosawa. Kurosawa gave a recommendation for Shimizu to the producers of an anthology film he was working on to direct a few segments to help pad out the film's runtime. This allowed Shimizu to develop his own unique sense of the Gothic and craft his own supernatural curse with unique rules. This idea of rules underpinning supernatural phenomena was something that he had been drawn to from a young age. He had devoured traditional Japanese ghost stories as a child and was drawn to their world. When given the opportunity to make a horror film, it was natural for him to gravitate back to this well. The two shorts he developed for the anthology, titled Katasumi and 44444, serve as prequels to the film series at large, giving a glimpse into the backstory behind key moments in the films. This was a first attempt for Shimizu at developing scary moments that would soon become iconic well outside of Japan. Those segments in the anthology film were short, but they left a serious impression. This allowed for Shimizu to get the funding to expand his Gothic lore through the vehicle of V-Cinema. V-Cinema is the term to describe the straight-to-video film industry in Japan, a world filled with controversial, sexual, violent, and political content. This industry served as a playground for young filmmakers such as Takashi Miike, Kiyoshi Kurosawa, Hideo Nakata, and others to experiment and develop their skills, while also allowing for popular genres like J-horror and Yakuza films to flourish. Within this milieu and in the immediate aftermath of the overwhelming popularity of Nakata's Ring film, Shimizu would take his first stab at a feature-length film and delve further into his nightmarish world of gothic horror. The film would be titled JuOn the Curse and would be followed quickly by a sequel appropriately titled JuOn the Curse 2. The second film would feature many of the same scenes as the original film, with some extended moments which left critics and audiences relatively unimpressed. The two straight-to-video movies would never be released on home video in the United States, at least not legally. This is still the case 26 years later. They were included in the JuOn the Grudge Blu-ray collection from Arrow Video in the UK, which is how I was able to watch them. See, someone ripped the Blu-ray and then edited together the two films into a proper combo cut that trimmed away the repetitive content. This was then uploaded to YouTube and was how I watched the movies. So for the purposes of this video, I will act as if it is one movie because that is clearly the superior viewing experience for these movies. With that being said, let's get into my thoughts on the movie. I have heard a lot about these movies prior to finally watching them. Lots of fans swear to their superiority to the theatrical films, claiming the story was more effective, partly because it was shot on video. They claim that the higher budget Grudge film is too polished and theatrical to be as bone-chilling as the lower budget video production that more closely resembles some sort of haunted VHS that you were never meant to watch. This piqued my interest, especially with how much I love JuOn the Grudge, so I came into this experience with high expectations. Expectations that were maybe not entirely fair and were, of course, not exactly lived up to. However, what I did find still had some unsettling Shimizu gothic horror magic tricks up its sleeve. Of course, some of the impactful scenes in this movie were remade in both JuOn the Grudge and the 2004 American remake, which makes it tough to evaluate how a virgin viewer would have reacted to them, but even for someone who has seen these images before, they still hold a strongly disturbing quality. The stair sequence is, of course, the most iconic example of this, and it still works here. There are so many slow building moments in this film that get under your skin. Of course, Shimizu is still learning as he goes along with the project, and it is undoubtedly harmed from its limited budget, which makes a direct comparison to the shot-on-film version unflattering to the original. I do think, though, that there is something to be said about the low-budget aura hanging over the project and the way I viewed it in playing a role in setting an effective atmosphere, but I still think Shimizu is much more mature and better able to use his higher budget in the film version. Dropping the comparison for now, I still see clear signs of talent on display in Shimizu's execution of the vignettes, and the overwhelming atmosphere still drains me. I love the way Shimizu mixes the real life horror of domestic abuse with supernatural horror. It gives the film a sense of heaviness and importance that helps to ground the classic Japanese horror tropes in the modern world. The most unsettling thing to me in these films is the real life implications of the hauntings. The abuse that inevitably leads to the unleashing of this vengeful ghost is horrifying to think about in ways on every scene. We feel bad for everyone caught up in this spiraling cycle of violence and vengeance. Innocent bystanders caught up in something beyond their understanding and impossible to prevent or fight against. The apocalyptic undertones of Shimizu's world is also something I absolutely adore. In most J horrors, that sense of apocalyptic doom underpins so much of the horror. Look at Ring, a virus that can easily spin out of control as more and more people are exposed to the haunted tape. Pulse features ghosts taking back the physical world from the living and leading to apocalypse. Cure features a continuing chain of murders based on personal and cultural insecurities that are deeply embedded across Japan. These stories know how to start small but have this sense of impending worldwide or countrywide doom constantly in the background. Shimizu masterfully plays with this through the use of vignettes and nonlinear storytelling. While it is still rough around the edges, with the acting suspect at times and some of the effects not being that impressive, so much of the base of what would become JuOn is already here and done so well. There are frustrations while watching, such as some of the cheap death scenes where the low budget clearly led to some stupid off-screen deaths, but this is a clear stepping stone that would give Shimizu the understanding and tools to more effectively remake this film. This is a good, however incomplete and flawed film that deserved to be remade on a larger budget to further explore the story and continue the development of Shimizu's masterful concept. Despite my reservations, I wholeheartedly say that JuOn the Curse is definitely worth tracking down. Shimizu was of course not done playing with this concept and would soon take advantage of the momentum of his young career to forever leave his stamp on the horror genre. In next week's video, I will explore the haunted world of Shimizu's JuOn the Grudge.